The Rocky Mountains are a place of breathtaking beauty, endless forests, jagged peaks cutting against the sky, and trails that promise adventure but hide unforgiving danger. Hikers come here seeking peace, freedom, and escape. But some never return. And sometimes, the mountains keep their secrets far longer than any family can bear. In the summer of 2018, a 72-year-old grandmother named Evelyn Hart set out for what should have been a simple day hike. She had walked the same trail dozens of times. She knew the paths, the switchbacks, the markers. She wasn't reckless. She wasn't inexperienced. But that day, Evelyn vanished without a trace. Her car was found neatly parked at the trailhead. Her backpack, water bottle, and jacket were missing, suggesting she started her hike as planned. But no one saw her return. No one heard a call for help. And despite massive search efforts, the forest gave nothing back. For 2 years, her family lived in torment. Rangers, volunteers, and search and rescue crews scoured the mountainside, braving freezing nights, dangerous slopes, and unpredictable storms. They found no footprints, no torn clothing, no gear, nothing that explained what had happened to a woman who had always cherished the outdoors. Most assumed the worst, that she had fallen, that wildlife had claimed her, or that the wilderness itself had swallowed her whole. The case slowly faded from headlines, marked as unsolved, another mystery in the Rockies. But then, 2 years later, something was discovered deep in the forest. Something that changed the way everyone looked at Evelyn's disappearance. Rangers stumbled across a site so disturbing, so out of place in the heart of the Rockies, that even seasoned investigators were shaken. It wasn't an animal den. It wasn't a natural hazard. It was man-made. A crude but lethal booby trap, hidden off-trail where no hiker would expect it. And with that discovery, the mystery surrounding Evelyn's disappearance shifted. Had she fallen victim to the wilderness, or to something far more sinister? This is the story of Evelyn Hart, a grandmother who vanished in the Rockies, a search that gripped an entire community, and the shocking discovery of a trap in the woods that raised terrifying questions about what, or who, is waiting in the mountains. Tonight, we take you step by step through her final day, through the desperate search that followed, through the chilling theories that emerged, and through the discovery that turned a missing person case into something darker. The Rockies are beautiful, but beauty can be deceiving, and what lies beneath the trees is not always what it seems. Evelyn Hart was not the kind of woman you would expect to make national headlines. She was a grandmother of 4, living quietly in a Colorado mountain town. Her neighbors knew her as kind, thoughtful, and endlessly energetic for her age. At 72, Evelyn still baked pies for the church fundraiser, knitted blankets for her grandchildren, and volunteered at the local library. But perhaps her greatest love was the outdoors. She had grown up in Colorado, and the Rockies were in her blood. Friends said she knew the trails like the back of her hand. Every morning she walked, rain or shine. And even as the years passed, she refused to give up her weekend hikes. The mountains gave her peace. They gave her strength. To Evelyn, being outside wasn't a hobby. It was a way of life. So when she told her daughter one July morning in 2018 that she was heading out for a day hike, no one thought twice. It was nothing unusual. She packed lightly a water bottle, protein bars, and her walking stick. She wore her sun hat, the same one she always wore. She left her phone charging on the counter, saying she'd only be gone a few hours. Her car was later found at the trailhead of Pine Ridge Trail, a moderate loop that wound through thick forest before opening up to breathtaking mountain vistas. Evelyn had walked it countless times before. She locked her car doors, slung her small pack over her shoulder, and set off into the woods. That was the last time anyone saw her alive. When Evelyn didn't return home by dusk, her daughter grew concerned. Calls went unanswered. The sun set, and there was no sign of her mother's headlights pulling into the driveway. By 10 p.m., panic set in. Evelyn was punctual, cautious, and considerate. She always told someone where she was going. To her family, something was wrong. By midnight, local deputies and park rangers were alerted. They drove to Pine Ridge Trail, and found Evelyn's sedan parked neatly at the trailhead. Inside were her phone, her wallet, and a book she had been reading. The car was locked, keys missing. It looked as if Evelyn had stepped out for a short stroll and never returned. The search began at dawn. The first morning, more than 30 search and rescue personnel fanned out across Pine Ridge Trail. They moved in tight grids, calling Evelyn's name, blowing whistles, and marking trees with bright tape. Dogs sniffed through the brush. A helicopter hovered above, its rotors thumping across the valley, scanning the dense canopy with infrared. The terrain was unforgiving. The forest was thick, and slopes dropped off suddenly into rocky ravines. Streams cut through the underbrush, slick with moss. In some places, the trail nearly vanished under fallen trees. Even experienced hikers often got turned around here, losing sight of markers and circling back unknowingly. For Evelyn, a 72-year-old woman carrying only a light pack, the dangers were real. Searchers feared she had fallen, twisted an ankle, or collapsed in the summer heat. But as the hours passed, the lack of evidence grew more disturbing. There were no footprints, no broken branches suggesting someone had stumbled off trail, no scraps of clothing snagged on brush. It was as if Evelyn had walked into the forest and been swallowed whole. By the second day, more than 100 volunteers joined the search. Local families, hiking groups, even strangers from neighboring towns showed up to help. They combed ridges, checked abandoned cabins, and scoured creek beds. Night after night, searchers gathered back at the base camp exhausted, scratched from brush, covered in insect bites, but empty-handed. For Evelyn's family, those days were unbearable. Her daughter described the agony of waiting at the trailhead as searchers came back again and again with nothing. "Every time I saw a ranger walking down the trail, my heart leapt," she said. "I kept thinking this was it. They'd found her." But it was always no. Always nothing. The media picked up the story quickly. Local news anchors spoke of the missing grandmother who had vanished on a routine hike. Reporters interviewed tearful family members. Headlines captured the nation's attention. Elderly hiker vanishes without a trace in Colorado Rockies. The public fascination was fueled by the sheer strangeness of it all. How could a 72-year-old woman disappear in broad daylight on a well-traveled trail with no sign left behind? As the days stretched into weeks, theories multiplied. Some believed Evelyn had simply collapsed from exhaustion and was lying somewhere the search teams hadn't reached yet. Others speculated she had fallen into a ravine, her body hidden among rocks and trees. But other theories were darker. Whispers spread that perhaps Evelyn hadn't been alone on the trail. Some hikers claimed they had seen a strange man in the area days before, lingering near the parking lot. Others recalled hearing distant hammering sounds, as if someone had been building something off-trail. Still, without evidence, authorities could not confirm any of it. The official word remained cautious. Evelyn Hart was missing. The search would continue until resources were exhausted. By the third week, hope was fading. The rescue mission quietly shifted into recovery mode. Evelyn's family, devastated, faced the reality that their mother and grandmother was not coming home. A memorial service was held in her honor, even though no body had been found, and the forest went silent once again. 2 years after Evelyn Hart's disappearance, Pine Ridge Trail was no longer a place of hikers' laughter and scenic views. Locals avoided it. Some said the forest felt cursed. Others said it was haunted. But for rangers, patrolling these mountains remained their duty. And on a crisp autumn morning in 2020, a small patrol team made a discovery that reignited the mystery of Evelyn's fate. They weren't looking for her. The mission that day was simple: survey storm damage along lesser-used back trails. The team moved slowly, cutting through brush, when one of them noticed something odd. A log looked unnaturally placed, angled across the path with rope barely visible beneath leaves. At first, they thought it was debris, but as they examined it, the truth became clear. It wasn't nature. It was man-made. When they brushed away the camouflage, they uncovered a crude but deadly device. A booby trap, built with sharpened stakes hidden in a pit, triggered by a tripwire stretched across the path. The rangers froze. This wasn't an old relic from hunters or a forgotten tool. It was recent, and it was lethal. The discovery was reported immediately, and investigators swarmed the site. Photos were taken, measurements logged. Forensic specialists combed the ground for prints, fibers, or anything that could identify who had built it. The trap itself was primitive but effective. A shallow pit dug with care, lined with sharpened branches hardened by fire. The tripwire, nearly invisible, stretched at ankle height. Anyone walking that path, hiker, child, or ranger, could have triggered it, falling forward into stakes. But the most chilling detail was its location. The trap was built on an unmarked path that branched off from Pine Ridge, less than a mile from where Evelyn's car had been found. It raised a terrifying question. Had Evelyn stumbled into this hidden trail 2 years earlier and encountered something similar? Detectives revisited the case file. They compared maps of the original search grid with the trap's location. Back in 2018, searchers had focused on the main trail and its immediate surroundings. The side path where the trap was discovered had been overlooked, overgrown, seemingly unused. Now, investigators considered a chilling scenario. Evelyn may have wandered off trail, whether by accident or curiosity, and encountered someone or something she should not have. Had she triggered a trap? Had she been confronted by whoever built it? The discovery didn't prove what had happened to her, but it turned her disappearance from a presumed accident into a possible crime. The news of the trap spread quickly. Local media ran headlines. Deadly trap found near site of missing hiker case. National outlets picked up the story, framing it as both a wilderness mystery and a true crime thriller. For the public, theories multiplied overnight. Some believed Evelyn had been the victim of a serial predator, someone building traps in the forest for reasons no one could understand. Others thought the trap might have been meant for animals, but constructed recklessly, without regard for human safety. But there was another, more sinister idea. What if the trap wasn't random? What if Evelyn had encountered someone who wanted to ensure she never returned from her hike? Booby traps in national forests are not common, but they aren't unheard of. Survivalists, hermits, and even illegal marijuana growers have been known to set traps to protect camps or crops. Law enforcement had documented cases in other states where hikers stumbled into snares or tripwires left behind by criminals. Experts analyzing the Pine Ridge trap said it was deliberate, not accidental. The careful camouflage, the sharpened stakes, the precise positioning, it wasn't the work of an amateur. Whoever built it knew what they were doing. If Evelyn had come across such a device, it could explain why no trace of her was ever found. For Evelyn's family, the discovery was devastating. Her daughter, already worn from years of uncertainty, spoke to reporters. To think that someone might have done this, it's unbearable. We wanted to believe it was an accident. Now I don't know what to believe. The possibility that Evelyn had been targeted, rather than lost, reopened wounds the family had struggled to close. A memorial had been held, but now grief turned to anger and fear. In the nearby mountain town, hikers grew wary. Trails that had once drawn crowds now stood empty. Parents warned their children never to go near the forest. Rumors spread of a recluse living in the hills, setting traps for anyone who came too close. Local businesses that thrived on outdoor tourism suffered. Outfitters reported cancellations. Guides found fewer clients. The forest that had always been a source of pride became a place of whispered dread. Authorities launched a larger investigation. Teams swept the area for more traps. Patrols increased. Flyers warned hikers to stay on marked trails. But no suspect was ever identified. The forest was too vast, too wild, and whoever had built the trap had vanished without a trace. For investigators, the frustrating truth was this. The trap deepened the mystery, but it didn't solve it. Without Evelyn's remains, without direct evidence, her fate remained unknown. The case of Evelyn Hart became more than a missing person story. It became a reminder of how thin the line between safety and danger is in the wilderness. Most people fear predators like bears or cougars. Few consider that the real danger might come from human hands. The Rockies are vast. They are breathtaking, but they are also unforgiving. Trails vanish. The weather turns without warning, and sometimes evil hides where you least expect it. Today, Evelyn's case remains unsolved. Her car is long gone from the Pine Ridge trailhead. Her family continues to live with unanswered questions. Did she fall victim to nature? Or did she encounter something darker? A trap laid not for animals, but for her? The booby trap found in those woods stands as a haunting clue. A warning that not all dangers in the mountains come with claws or fangs. Some come with ropes, stakes, and the cruel mind of a human determined to harm. The Rockies are beautiful, but beauty can deceive. And somewhere, in the silence of those forests, the truth of what happened to Evelyn Hart waits. If this story unsettled you, share it with others who follow true crime mysteries. Leave your theories in the comments. Could Evelyn's fate have been tied to the trap? Or is the truth still hidden in the Rockies? And make sure to subscribe for more cinematic true crime stories, where silence holds secrets and every mystery has a voice.